You are worth $10,004,212 this morning, and you are irritated because the gas station coffee line is 6 deep. You are not thinking about the number. You are thinking that the machine behind the counter only has one pot going and somebody in front of you just ordered 4 drinks. The coffee costs $4.75, same as it did the first time you almost didn't buy it. Rewind 37 years back, $0 in checking, a loading dock, a different machine, same price. It starts the way most of these things do, with a Tuesday and a paycheck. You are 24. You work the overnight shift at a regional distribution center, checking pallet seals against scan codes, walking concrete under buzzing lights until 11:40 at night. You live in a 1-bedroom over a laundromat. The dryer downstairs runs until midnight, and you've stopped noticing it the way you stop noticing your own heartbeat. $18.40 an hour, which comes out to about $38,300 a year before anything gets taken out. Your coworker Wes works the same shift, same forklift certification, same lunch break at 2 in the morning by the vending machines. Wes is not lazy. Wes is not bad with money. Wes just believes, the way most people do, that saving happens with what's left over. The problem is there is never anything left over. There's rent, there's the truck payment Wes already has. There's a night out on Friday because the week was long and it earned one. You believe something slightly different, and it costs you nothing to test it. You set up an automatic transfer, $40 out of every paycheck, gone before it ever sits in your checking account long enough to have an opinion about it. It is not a plan, it is a pipe laid before the pressure exists. Wes tells you he'll start saving once he gets the next raise. That's the plan. Wait for more room, then use the room. You don't say anything, you just let the transfer run. 3 years in, and the coffee still costs $4.75. Your balance crosses $10,412 on an ordinary Thursday. You find out by accident, checking the app for something else entirely. Nobody claps, nothing changes about the shift, the dock, the dryer downstairs. Money doesn't announce itself first, the silence does. You don't celebrate it, you go back to the dock, back to the seals and the scan gun, because the number changes nothing about tonight's shift. That's the part nobody tells you. The milestone and the morning look identical. By 27, you've moved up to shift lead, small raise, same instinct. You raise the transfer to $220 a month and don't think about it again, the same way you don't think about your rent being due. Deb works the front office. She's known you since you were the new guy checking labels nobody trusted with the good routes. One break room afternoon, she says, you got quiet about money. You used to complain about rent like the rest of us. You shrug it off, you don't have a good answer yet. What's actually happening is this. The account has stopped feeling like money you have and started feeling like a second job that never clocks out, quietly stacking a shift you never scheduled. You don't touch it, not for a car, not for a vacation you'd earned by any reasonable measure. Wes gets a $6,000 bonus that year. His truck needs new brakes and a transmission flush, and the bonus mostly covers it, with a little left for a better stereo. He calls it investing in reliable transportation. He's not wrong, exactly. It's not the same account, though. It's not the same shape of decision. That's mental accounting at work, though nobody in this story would ever call it that. Money in a checking account feels spendable. Money you never let yourself see doesn't. Your balance crosses $100,240 at 32. You're driving home from a double shift when you check, half asleep, and you nearly miss the exit. It is not a party. It is a red light and a tired blink and a small, private exhale. 6 figures. It doesn't look like 6 figures. It looks like a number on a screen in a car that smells like a gas station burrito. The median American household holds a net worth of about $193,000. You're not there yet. You can see it from here for the first time. You don't tell Deb the number. You don't tell anyone. It isn't shame. It's just that saying it out loud would make it a topic, and you'd rather it stay a habit. By 34, most of what you've saved sits in a low-cost index fund, not because you're clever, but because you read that spreading it wide and leaving it alone beats trying to be clever. Then the market drops. 34% over 9 ugly months. The kind of drop that has happened before more than once and will happen again at some point, though nobody can say exactly when. Your account on paper loses 6 figures. You watch the number fall and your chest actually tightens. That part is real. Nobody is immune to that part. You lie awake once, doing the math on your phone in the dark, wondering if any of this was ever real, or if you just got lucky on a machine that was always going to eventually take it back. There's no clean answer to that at 2 in the morning. You put the phone face down and you don't check again for a week. The transfer runs anyway. It doesn't know the market is down. It was scheduled a year ago by a version of you who didn't need to be brave about it today. That's the whole trick. It is not courage. It is a rule you set before you needed one. Wes checks his account every day that quarter. On the worst morning, he sells almost everything he'd put in. He locks in the 34% loss, and 2 years later, once the headlines calm down, he buys back in near the top of the recovery. He's not foolish. He's scared at exactly the moment fear is the most convincing. Most people are. He ends up fine eventually, just behind, years behind on the same road at a slower speed for reasons that have nothing to do with how hard he works. Your account crosses $518,000 at 38 less than a year after the bottom. You don't feel triumphant. You feel like someone who welded a door shut and it held. It is not a win. It is a door that did exactly what it was built to do. At 40, you get promoted to operations manager. The raise is real. $14,000 more a year, deposited the same Friday as always. Wes gets a similar bump around the same time. He and his wife move into a bigger apartment that month. New car lease not long after. The math works on paper if the raise stays exactly this size forever. You do something smaller and less fun. You raise the transfer by almost the full amount of the raise, and you keep the apartment over the laundromat for 2 more years, on principle as much as anything. It is not that a bigger life is wrong. It is that a bigger life, taken all at once, quietly cancels the raise before you ever feel it. Deb notices again months later over lunch. You never upgrade anything, she says, not an accusation, genuine curiosity. You tell her the apartment's fine. It is. That's most of the answer. You cross $1,006,800 at 45. You find out on a Sunday, doing laundry downstairs out of habit, years after you could afford a machine of your own. There's no camera, no confetti, the dryer buzzes. You fold a shirt, that's the whole scene. The refrigerator hums in the other room later, when you check the number again just to be sure it's real. This is what crossing $1 million looks like, almost nothing at all. Wes hears about it, eventually, the way people hear things in a break room. He doesn't ask how. He just says quietly that he wishes he'd started the same year you did. You tell him it's never too late for the next dollar, only for the ones already spent. By your late 40s, you've been at the same company over 20 years, running operations for a regional distribution network you helped build. A corporate title opens up, regional director. Bigger salary, bigger office, a lot more hours, a title people at industry dinners would recognize. Wes goes for a version of that path at his company. He gets it eventually after years of angling, corner office, a title with real weight to it. You get offered something quieter. A group of small logistics contractors, 3 of them family-run, want to sell their routes and equity to someone who actually knows the work. You know 2 of the owners personally. Is a bigger paycheck the same thing as a bigger foundation? It isn't, and by now you know the difference in your body before you know it on paper. You don't take the director title. You use savings, a modest loan, and a partner to buy an ownership stake in the contracting group instead. A 32% stake to start, not glamorous, not a headline, real though in a way a job title never quite is. It is not a bigger paycheck. It is a bigger structure that doesn't need you standing in front of it every hour to keep running. Wes ends up comfortable, genuinely, a corner office and a strong salary and a pension that will carry him fine. He's still trading hours for dollars, at 55 the same as at 25, just at a much better rate. You're trading ownership for time. That's the actual difference between the ladder and the elevator. One still needs you climbing it. The other keeps moving while you're somewhere else entirely. By 52, between the routes, the fund, and the modest real estate the group holds, your net worth crosses $3,220,000. You mention this to almost no one. There's no place for that number in a break room conversation. At 55, a former driver sues the contracting group over a job site injury, claiming the safety equipment was outdated. It is a real claim, handled by real lawyers, the kind of event that has ended small companies outright. Years earlier, on advice you didn't fully appreciate at the time, you and your partners had restructured the group under a holding entity, insurance layered properly, each contract kept separate from the others. None of that was built for this exact lawsuit. It was built for something like it, eventually, the way you build a levee for a flood that hasn't arrived yet. The claim gets settled within the insurance coverage. The company keeps running. Nobody outside the three of you ever really knows how close it got. It is like watching a smoke detector you installed years earlier go off during an actual fire and do precisely what it was built to do. It didn't feel like winning. It felt like exhaling. You don't tell your partners how close you'd once come to skipping the restructuring, back when it felt like an expensive formality nobody would ever need. You just quietly renew the policy again the following year, the same as always. Your younger sister calls that same year, a billing dispute with her insurance company, a hospital charge that doubled overnight, threatening collections. You don't write a check, you get on the phone with her, on hold for 40 minutes, and walk her through exactly how to dispute the code, what to say, which department actually has the authority to fix it. It gets resolved in a week. She thanks you for the call, not for money, because there wasn't any. She doesn't ask what you're worth. You wouldn't know how to answer honestly without the conversation changing shape entirely. The kindest thing you can do, some nights, is let the gap between you stay exactly the size it looks like from across a kitchen table. The stake grows. A fourth contractor group joins under the holding structure at 58. A small commercial property the group owns appreciates faster than anyone projected. None of it happens on a single dramatic day. It happens the way water fills a tank, one ordinary deposit at a time, for years, while you're doing something else entirely. Somewhere in there, Wes retires from his corner office with a pension and a gold watch nobody actually wears. You send a card, you mean it. At 61, your net worth crosses $10,004,212. You find out on a random Wednesday, standing in a gas station coffee line, 6 people deep, mildly annoyed about the wait. That's close to where the data draws the line for wealth most families never reach at all. You forgot the exact day it happened. You couldn't tell anyone the date if they asked. Walt, who ran maintenance at the distribution center for 31 years, retired 2 summers ago on a modest pension. Comfortable, not rich, never once behind on anything. He used to tell the new hires the same line, back when you were one of them. Almost nobody gets rich in a single afternoon. They just stop noticing the boring Tuesdays that added up to it. You didn't understand it at 24. You understand it now, mostly because you've become the version of it someone younger needs to hear. A 26-year-old on the new hire crew asks you, one slow shift, how you did it, not directly, sideways, the way people ask when they're actually asking something bigger. You tell her about the transfer, the pipe before the pressure, not a stock tip, not a secret, just a decision made once before the money existed to argue about it. Set it up before the paycheck talks you out of it, you say. Then don't check it every day, let it be boring. Months later, you're back at that same gas station, off shift, waiting on the same 6-person coffee line. The coffee still costs $4.75. A young guy 2 spots ahead, still in his work vest, counts change out of a worn wallet, doing quiet math on whether he can afford it and something else later today. You don't know him. You'll never know if he sets anything up or waits for the extra money that never quite shows. His thumb is hovering over his banking app on a notification about a direct deposit that just landed. You already know what happens after that, one way or the other. He doesn't yet. The line moves, the machine keeps running. Somewhere, a set of contracts, a fund, and a holding structure keep collecting, quietly, exactly the way they were built to.